This is the story of a man who breathed new life into an abandoned neighborhood.
Making the magic garden was an act of disobedience, an act of violation of somebody else's rights.
In Philadelphia, in the United States.
What is it that drives an artist to do things that are impossible or crazy?
The Philadelphia Magic Gardens. South Street. Once one of the most dilapidated streets in Philadelphia, it is now the backbone of one of the city's trendiest neighborhoods. This street is also home to one of the most unique public spaces in the city, the Philadelphia Magic Gardens, the work of a local pioneer.
My name is Isaiah Zagar. I made Philadelphia's Magic Gardens, but with a lot of help from my friends. One time, I was working on a wall, and from across the street was the sound of a man yelling, "You're a brick killer! You're a brick killer!" How was I killing bricks? I was suffocating the bricks by placing tiles and mirrors over the bricks. But luckily, the kind of people that were upset were not so belligerent that they would hurt me. They could just yell at me and run away.
The Philadelphia Magic Gardens take up approximately 3 housing lots worth of space. They include an art gallery, an elaborate outdoor labyrinth, and a spectacular mural. People come here to stroll and marvel at the 280 square meters or 3,000 square feet of ceramic sculptures. Today, it is the turn of Evangeline Galt, a tourist, to admire this unusual open structure.
I'm from Tampa, Florida, and I've been to the other museums, but my granddaughter suggested that I come here. I have not read anything about him. I don't know. I just knew that I had to come, and I can see why.
He has tremendous talent, energy, humor, and willingness to take on the world in his own understanding of it.
The Philadelphia Magic Gardens were completed in 2008. Since then, guided tours and mosaic workshops have been offered to visitors. They also offer creative workshops for families and art programs for youth. In short, this unique place has been transformed into a creative locale for all Philadelphians.
The Magic Gardens is a place where people can come and kind of like explore it, like it's a land of some sort that they just found. They all make different sounds somehow. And other people would just be like, they're just bottles that are different colors and different shapes. How can they possibly make different noises? But there are things in them, and they all make different noises.
If you look around, you can see that he's thought about different things. He must be very thoughtful and wants to preserve beautiful things in the world.
I think all artists are magicians in that they have tricks, they have strategies, and they fool people into thinking that they're more than they are. In this case, my fooling is a pleasant kind of fooling.
This is the perfect fantasy for someone that's 3 years old, maybe. And look at this. Bicycle wheels that just open everything up. Just whimsical and colorful and filled with enchanting possibilities. I built this sanctuary to be inhabited by my ideas and my fantasies. Does that say it all? and look at the stools. Oh my goodness. And I must sit for a moment. How do I get in here? This is absolutely a joy and a delight. I'm thrilled that he chose to share this and his enchanting view on things with everyone and open it up so that we can come visit it. So that some people think this is trash.
I have made something that is beautiful and ugly too, but there's something within it that is mysteriously uplifting. I'll be damned if I can figure it out any more than anybody else can.
It's nicknamed the City of Brotherly Love. Philadelphia, the fifth largest city in the United States, is undoubtedly a major cultural and historical center. Green spaces and public parks are everywhere. Art lovers get their money's worth. The city has more than 3,500 murals, 200 of which are the work of Isaiah Zagar. It was in the Eyes Gallery, a workshop today run by his wife Julia, that Zagar's crazy adventure began.
Can you give me one of the cards down there? Great.
But long before Isaiah Zagar became a celebrated artist in his city, he and his wife faced their share of adversity.
We got back from the Peace Corps and we didn't know where we were going to live, so we decided to visit places that we knew a little bit about. And we finally went to an area called Germantown here in Philadelphia because Isaiah's sister lived here.
Germantown is a historic neighborhood located in northwest Philadelphia. It was here that America's anti-slavery movement was born. George Washington, America's first president, lived here temporarily. But in the 70s, this holy place in American history proved inhospitable to these two young hippies fresh from a long stay in Latin America.
And it all seemed very foreign. It was a hard time. The Vietnam War was going on, and there was a lot of anger on both sides. And when they saw someone with a beard and a lot of hair, a lot of people got very angry, were hissing at him. And here we thought we were doing something for the government by being in the Peace Corps and helping people, and now we were being hissed at.
Feeling misunderstood in his own country, Isaiah took refuge in his creative work.
It was hard for him to find friends or a space to work in and show his work. And he began to get very depressed.
I began the inner journey of painting and thinking about my relationship to art. I got thrown for a loop. I got caught in a mental and emotional tailspin. I became psychotic. I had to be hospitalized.
And when I went to speak to the social worker at the hospital, I remember what she said to me. She said, "He is completely nuts. Don't think you're gonna see him soon."
While the United States was at war overseas, Isaiah was fighting against his own demons.
I didn't contemplate suicide. I suicided. But I suicided in a very safe way, in a room, wrapped in shackles on a metal table. Ridiculous. How could I do it?
With her husband hospitalized, Julia had to look for work.
They needed teachers at that time, so they gave me credits for my degrees without having pedagogy courses. So I started teaching.
My father always calls her the rock because she is grounded. And without her, there wouldn't have been a hymn.
In the meantime, Isaiah was in for only 10 days.
And came out and began a new life.
And I think it was only when I realized I was pregnant, that's when we began looking for a real place to live in an area that we thought we could function better in.
I needed some way to recuperate. And South Street was a street that was going to become an expressway, and it was being bought up by the city and the state.
When we first came to South Street, it was this kind of desolate place. There were a lot of vacant buildings.
At one point, we were on food stamps, and this area was very poor. It wasn't the wealthy financial district that it is now.
I thought because that street was so down and out, so on the brink of death, we could find a derelict building that I could learn skills that would help me to get better. I couldn't be an artist anymore, I thought. I couldn't be an artist, but I could live the art life.
We bought this building for $10,000. It was without plumbing or heating, and we decided that that was going to be ours, our new home.
I could make a building into an art house, and Julia, who was more outgoing than me, could be behind a counter and sell off the things that we made so we could start a craft shop.
So he came in and completely devastated the whole building. Every wall came down.
And the renovating of the building started to give me strength. Once I broke down the building, then I had to build it up. And I was building shelving and all kinds of closets and all out of the detritus of the city. And then I began embellishing, beginning the process again of making art.
His devotion to his craft restored his lust for life. But even today, it's a constant struggle for Isaiah to maintain his equilibrium.
I'm 75 years old and I still am doing the work. I go through periods of time and have what is it called, bipolarness. I have times where I think it's all worthless. And I have times when I think, wow, I'm the most important artist that ever lived.
Gradually, Isaiah's magic touch spread across many South Street buildings, a major contribution to the project of revitalizing the neighborhood.
Isaiah Zagar started mosaicing in 1969 here in Philadelphia, and he started putting his art on abandoned properties.
South Street was a kind of broken down area. So him and his friends were trying to make it beautiful. Did I help him with his mosaics? I had to, because I was his son. He wanted to make sure we knew how to do what he did.
But not everyone was happy about the idea of using the city as an artist's canvas.
People have told me all along that they didn't like what I do, and people would challenge me that I was ruining the neighborhood. And
People that critique Isaiah feel that it's garish and it's trashy because it's made out of found objects.
I understood where they were coming from. I mean, they just didn't understand and still don't understand.
I appreciated the art, and I knew that he was in a different category than all the other artists. And I knew eventually he was going to be what he wanted to be.
Many people will say, I know a lot of people like what you do. I know a lot of people respect you. But I have to tell you truthfully that I don't like it. Okay, that's fine. I mean, they don't have to give me their wall.
But here, in essence, was the root of people's displeasure. Isaiah was installing his mosaics without permission.
He was going out early in the morning when no one was out and doing whatever wall he wanted to do. And he got arrested twice.
I think that's an interesting thing.
This one piece will make 52 layers.
Watch on mobile devices or the big screen. All for free. No subscription required.
To avoid further trouble with the law, Isaiah decided to concentrate on the Eyes Gallery, where the couple had just moved. A lucrative decision. The gallery grew prosperous and quickly became a meeting place on South Street.
The Eyes Gallery was the first studio on South Street. And then it got too crazy, got too filled with people, and events, and there was no quiet.
The noise and traffic led Isaiah to buy another building to convert into a studio.
1987, I moved into this building, and it began a wonderful, wonderful 10 years of work and play and mystery. All kinds of things happened in this building. And then in 1994, I purchased the building that was facing South Street. And that began the journey of making the Magic Garden.
And next door to it, at 1022, which was also part of our property, is just a vacant lot. And then next door to that was another vacant lot where there were several vagrants living.
It was two abandoned plots that an absentee landowner took over, and this landowner lived in Boston, so he didn't really care what the community was like, he didn't care what the neighborhood was like. So Isaiah saw a blighted area, buildings that were in disrepair, and he asked the local representative of this landowner if he could start working on that site.
He got the permission of the owners with the idea that I would take care of it. I would be a caretaker.
He began cleaning, and as he began cleaning, he began to pile a lot of the detritus into what he called sculptures. And they became bigger and more elaborate, and it wasn't his land. I mean, but there was no one to stop him. No one said anything, and so he just kept working. He didn't care.
But making the Magic Garden was an act of disobedience, an act of violation of somebody else's rights.
And of course, Isaiah put more, put a bigger fence, put cement on the fence. Couldn't really be moved too easily. And one time the landlord came down and he was just horrified.
The landlord's plan was to wait until prices in the neighborhood rose and then sell the land for a tidy profit. But Isaiah's sculptures made that impossible.
I needed to get off the land and to bring it back to its original flat landedness without any sculptural entities on it.
One of my favorite quotes from the person that has actually owned this land was, I know what real art is, it's in the Louvre. And so that was sort of his attitude about this giant installation.
And he said that we had 30 days to clean it, get out, or buy it. We realized that we couldn't own it, we couldn't buy it, because he wanted $300,000 for the property. And he wouldn't budge because he knew he had us. He just had us.
It meant destroying my work, that I would be responsible for bulldozing my own work.
The time when Isaiah Zagar had to slyly appropriate city walls is behind him. The Magic Gardens, celebrating their 10th anniversary this year, are now part of everyday life for the neighborhood's residents. And today, our artist is a local celebrity. It's impossible for Isaiah to escape his work, at any time, at every street corner.
I go to breakfast at Black and Brew.
A project, a mark of his creativity.
I did a workshop with 20 people, and we embellished the front and side of Black and Brew. Since then, what I receive from them is a small cup of coffee every morning. And then I buy my breakfast, and I sit outside with Blue, my dog. After my breakfast, I walk to Watkins Street. Come on, Blue, let's get on our way. Hey, Blue. It's beautiful sunlight, boy.
There's no rest for Isaiah. His latest project? A huge studio he's transforming into a work of art.
This is a 10,000 square foot building on 2 floors. I have, over the last 8 years, embellished the second floor from the walls and the ceiling, and now I'm almost concluded with both floors.
It takes him about a day to put up the tiles and glass on a wall, and then another day to grout it. So in 2 days, he can do a wall the size of 10 feet by 10 feet.
It's come to a crucial point in time where it needs an exhausting amount of money to finish it, because it has no heat and no separate rooms and one little bathroom.
It's a difficult one for him because he feels like it's too big for him. He doesn't know what to do with it. I have ideas. He has ideas. My mother has ideas, but nothing is clear yet. It's a beautiful place, and I hope something happens with it that glorifies it.
I've gone through some times in the last 2 years where I thought, I can't do it. It's beaten me. It's defeated me.
At 75, a little wisdom. The artist has realized that he will not be able to finish this mammoth project alone.
I've done over 200 murals in Philadelphia. Most of them, since 1997, when I started doing classes, have been with groups of people. And I train them in 2 days. They learn how to cut mirror, to break tile, and to place the tile on the wall, and then to mix cement, and to grout and clean the grout, and then to paint the lines in that I have demarcated.
The exchange is fair. The disciples front some cash, and the artist shares his knowledge.
Every artist has routines that he or she does every day. It's called their practice. And my practice is most days to mix some cement and use it in one way or another. And the way I mix cement is I have a bag of sand and I have a bag of cement, and I mix more or less 3 sand to 1 cement. Then I take my cement and I put a colorant into it, the same kind of colorant that is used in paint. And it's very toxic, usually made of heavy metals. It's very bad for the environment. I'm supposedly good for the environment, but not always. I then pour it onto the table, and I have prepared tiles that I have drawn on that were broken tiles that I have salvaged from in one way or another, and I begin to play.
He has this tremendous energy that he can't, at times, can't handle, and has found art as his method of dealing with it.
So one of the things that I do, things that are broken a little bit, I break them some more. Sometimes I break things that aren't broken, and they don't mind. They don't mind at all. Oh, look at that earpiece, huh? That's kind of nice. This is coming out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with what's going on here.
After a day of work, back home for dinner with the family. But his art is never far away.
What could be better? Fish, salad, and wine. Now that I live near my parents, I see them for dinner once a week.
This is the best meal of my life.
And I see my mother on a daily basis, or every other day. And I see my father, when he's walking around, sometimes I bump into him. All right, give thanks for the food.
Okay. to the creator of
The mosaics. Thank God he's here and still alive and not depressed.
Oh, not depressed, no.
Even today, Isaiah Zagar organizes guided tours in which he describes his approach. He explains that it was piece by piece that this giant open-air garden of sculptures came to life.
Here in the gardens, people say the funniest things. Most people say, "Oh my God, what is this thing?" Or they say, "This is beautiful." Or some people say, "This is trash," and everyone has an opinion about it.
Come on, Blue. Come on. Good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning.
What first strikes visitors to the Philadelphia Magic Gardens is the immense scale of the project, something that did not exist in its early days.
I got a commission to do a mosaic piece for a convention center in Phoenix, Arizona, and it paid $100,000. So I poured it into the ground here. I excavated and built. I wanted people to be able to isolate themselves from the rest of the city. I've gone to many places that are burial grounds, and always going down into the ground was a way to link with the sky, because you go down and then you look up.
Once the area was excavated, the structure had to be rebuilt, requiring meticulous work.
If you're using big materials, it doesn't take long at all. If you're using very, very tiny materials, it takes a long time. So it might be that a 10 by 10 foot wall could take a half a day, could take 2 days, could take a week, could take a month, could take a year. All depends.
It's easy to critique Isaiah's work because it's very simple, but what most people never notice are all of the sort of hidden images and hidden meanings that he's embedded inside of these murals.
P-I-T-C-T-A-U. Philadelphia is the center of the art universe.
They're frequently telling the story of people in the neighborhood. So it's telling the story of South Street and the South Street area over time.
There can never be a valid definition of art. One of the magical things for me about putting words in these walls is it's self-publishing. I have no editor, I have no, except me. I like that. I like that, that freedom. That's a nice statement, isn't it? Forever. And it's in cursive. Forever in cursive. It's like a continual flow, forever in cursive.
And his opinion of his work? Realistic with a disarming honesty.
Sometimes I think about this as a coral reef or a lava flow, a natural phenomena. The whole composition comes from the mystery of time, like a city being built. I'm not a visionary. I'm not a self-taught artist. I'm an eclectic artist. I'm someone who copies other people. And I work from the past to the present to the future. I get all the broken pieces from the Eyes Gallery. How lucky am I? Well, the materials are a family of materials. Tiles, mirrors, glass, all kinds of pottery, and then drawing on broken tiles. These big tiles, these were the bases, the cushions for toilets and sinks and bathtubs. And I would set them on a table and draw on them and then put them in the kiln. And there are a lot of these amazing tiles that are all throughout the garden. This was broken, so I said, fix it. Tell the story. Memory. A lot of things break here, and I have to redo them. This was waste, this was waste. So I got it all. This was waste too, because it wasn't perfect. It's like making salad. You're not concerned with the aesthetics of salad until the end. You chop everything up and you put it all together and you add some condiments, and then it's eaten, and it's chewed, and then it goes through. Comes out, whoa, still beautiful.
Here, abandoned and worthless objects are combined to form a complex work of art.
Somebody left me a penny. A penny for your thoughts, Isaiah. A penny for your thoughts.
Inevitably, Isaiah's character is revealed through the most mundane of objects.
How many of these bottles of beer, bottles of wine did I drink? And I tell everybody all of them. I lie, maybe 90%. This is my kind of bullseye, a pregnant belly and 2 breasts. You know, the bullseye has been very important for 20th century art. Oh, and my feet and my hands. I made molds of my feet and my hands so I could walk on walls and on ceilings, and I could touch everything. So I could touch everything. When I was a little boy, I lived in Brooklyn, and we were a nudist family. My father would come home from work and take off his clothes. So I keep my clothes to a minimum. In my art, I keep my clothes off.
Transforming a vacant lot into a work of art has its consequences. In 2004, Isaiah Zagar found himself faced with a difficult choice: destroy everything and start over elsewhere, or fight to stay.
When the landowner found out about what Isaiah Zagar was doing in this neighborhood, he was not pleased.
We were very upset and angry at this man, but in the end, he actually did us a favor.
Jonathan Salisbury, a local reporter, wrote a piece about my circumstances. And that newspaper article got into the hands of one of the vice presidents of Ballard, Spahr, Ingersoll, and Andrews, a very prestigious law firm in the city of Philadelphia. They decided to do pro bono work to help me.
There was an enormous legal battle where all of these community constituents, from lawyers to real estate people, sort of banded together to help Isaiah successfully buy the land legally from the landowner.
A man named Dick Goldberg came to visit me and my wife Julia, and we said, we don't have the money to buy that property. Well, he said, yes, you do have the money to buy the property. And he proceeded to tell us that the value of the property was at least $500,000 and that we could loan the money to a nonprofit organization. I said, there is no nonprofit organization. He said, that's right now, but we're going to make you a nonprofit organization.
The condition for making the Philadelphia Magic Gardens a nonprofit organization was that it open itself to the public, officially.
By 2008, the garden actually had its first paid staff members. So during that time, it was sort of a transition where the place was open regular hours and trying to serve the public and students and kids through tours.
I could just feel that my heart began to pound and my whole blood circulation revved up. And I felt something that was going through me at that moment. I couldn't stop it. I couldn't, like an orgasm. You know, wow, this is coming. What's happening here? That's it.
Opening the doors to the public was beneficial for Zagar personally, but it also strengthened his reputation as an artist. And the number of visitors is steadily increasing. The Philadelphia Magic Gardens have emerged as a landmark in the city.
When I started in 2009, there were about 18,500 people coming through the door. When I finished in 2014, this year, we have about 72,000 people that will be coming this year, so the change has been really dramatic.
This success is due to Isaiah's tenacity. At least, so say his family.
My father's greatest strength, I would say, is that he stayed on course. He kept the focus. He didn't go back and forth about what he wanted to do. He was clear that he wanted to do art, and he wanted to do it in the way that he's doing it, and he stayed the focus.
In the past few years, Isaiah has become better respected, and I think a lot of that is due to the fact that he's so accessible. When people come to Philadelphia, it's likely that you could actually have an interaction with Isaiah, and he will tell you stories about what he's made, or he'll teach you a little bit. He'll pull you into his studio and you can learn his process.
Isaiah thinks that the world should be covered with mosaics, or at least Philadelphia. And by this time, South Philadelphia is covered with mosaics. So it's possible, you know, that people can express themselves out in the streets and in their city in a way that is much more fruitful than anything else that we do.
He's done so many projects in so many places and inspired so many people to create their own projects that I think that's one of the major reasons why, you know, this one tiny man who's made over 200 murals in the city has become an inspiration for many.
That was one thing that he was always very proud of. He was like, I may not be this, I may not be that, but I've always been an artist. And I will always be an artist.
Isaiah Zagar has sculpted, modeled, and painted his city for 40 years. And despite a bit of fatigue, he's determined to continue pursuing his art.
What is the drive? What is it that drives an artist to do things that are impossible or crazy? Why does an artist do these things? Well, the artist doesn't know. This artist doesn't know.
But ceramic is not indestructible. Sooner or later, the question of maintaining the structure will arise.
Although he did a lot of the work, and he's a ferocious worker, he wasn't an expert worker. Cement is forgiving to a certain extent, but now we're finding that a lot of the work has its fallacies.
And to the extent that the Philadelphia Magic Gardens have become an attraction, they deserve to be preserved for future generations. No small challenge.
There are too many people visiting the Magic Gardens now for the work to be as tentative as it was when he made it.
One of the particular challenges that the Magic Gardens has right now is preservation. How do you preserve a giant visionary art environment that was created out of thousands of different materials?
Just like anything, you know, the rain, the snow, the sun, the elements break it down, and he usually fixes it. And if he's not here to fix it, who's going to preserve it?
That's a reality, and in the spirit of Isaiah, he doesn't really believe in keeping everything exactly the same. So he really believes that, you know, this is a work in progress, and that's sort of something we're embodying as a team when we're thinking about the preservation of the space.
It's a big project because maybe he does sense a bit of mortality. But now that he's happy and he has the energy again, who knows, things can manifest.
It's not done yet. It's not completed because there are other things that entered into the autobiography of Isaiah Zagar that became important to the whole manifestation. And that is this thing called community development.
Although Zagar still has much work left to do, the future looks bright for this unique artist.
I see the future of the Magic Gardens being a lot more than just this space. There's a philosophy of collaboration. So I think there's a spirit present here that can really enable lots of people to work together in the future. And so we kind of see it as a living, breathing object.
I would do what I'm good at to help with preserving his art. And so the answer is yes, of course. You know, it's deep in my heart.
In terms of preserving it, it's not really keeping it the same per se. It's keeping the spirit of it the same, but being able to replace key materials with other materials that are similar and keep sort of his aesthetics present at all times. But I think the garden will change and evolve through time. I think that's a natural part of its life.
I love my family, and I love the art, and I love the culture that my parents have lived with and developed, and I'm very connected to it.
What we are envisioning for the gardens is that it can become a visual resource for outsider art, maybe, for the city, for educational purposes, and as a tribute and legacy for both of us. Big dreams, huh?
Like Bob Dylan's line, there's something strange going on here, but you don't know what it is. And I'm not only the focal point of making it, but I'm Mr. Jones too. I don't know what it is. I just know that this is what I'm doing. And each step along the way is a manifestation of it, whatever it is.